And we're joined by Jack of Vambo. How you keeping, man?
Very well, thank you, mate. And yourself?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, all good. Like we're just talking off air. First time I saw you guys, I mean, seeing your name floating about and stuff, but the first time I saw you guys live, and to be honest, hearing more of your music was supporting Cats in Space just before Christmas, I think it was, in Norwich. So how's that tour for you, man?
Yeah, man, it was awesome. Like it felt really good to be gigging again. Because we hadn't gigged in quite a long time,
Yes.
and I think it was when the Delta thing was starting to die down, and just before the Omicron thing started. So it was that little grace period that we had in between there. Got a few shows in. Um, it was really nice. It was awesome being on the road with Cats because they're really nice guys and they're really great musicians and
Oh,
their
fantastic.
fans are really nice. Like we picked up a lot of fans along the way. It was really good.
And so I can always obviously speak for the show I was at in Norwich, but it seemed like everybody did the thing of, being curious on the support act. And then as soon as you started playing, it seemed like everybody, took those few steps forward and went with you guys on it.
Mhm.
I mean, for me, like I was saying, it was the first time hearing you. I mean, it helped for me that you covered two of my favorite songs. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm a bass player. So, Glenn Hughes and John Paul Jones was a huge influence on me playing. So, but then again, hearing the original material, obviously, like I say, before we met very briefly when I went over to the merch store and bought your last album there. And it's a great record, man. It really is.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah. Like it's nice to play a couple of covers in the set, because it keeps people that don't know who we are, although they might like our music or whatnot. It's nice when people don't know who you are to keep them enticed with something that they do know as well, 'Cause
Yeah, it
if
breaks
they
the ice a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, because if I suppose if they walk away from the show and they don't know us, they're going to be going, "Oh, what's that band? What's the song that they played?" But if we play something like Burn or Good Times, Bad Times, they can go, "Oh, who was that band that played Burn?" And they might just remember us a bit better. I don't know.
So, speaking of the record, though, I mean, you released another single earlier, a couple months ago, was it that you released "This Is Your Life," wasn't it?
Yeah, I was. I can't remember exactly what it was yet, but it's a couple months ago. That was a song that was actually written a long time ago. It was meant to be on the first album, but it just some songs just don't
Yeah.
make it on there. So we thought, why not release it and maybe put it on album two as well?
So, are you working on that at the minute? Is that something?
Yeah, album number two has. Um, we've been working on it for quite a while, like on and off during lockdown. It's been obviously it was difficult because at first, the first year and a half, we weren't actually able to see each other and be in a room. So it was very stop and start, and it was quite difficult to try and get something going because it felt very disconnected, not being able to be with each other when we're writing and recording and stuff. So it kind of stopped and started there, and then it's picked up again recently in the last couple months where we've been able to get together. So we're about, we're pretty much the writing is pretty much there,
Yeah.
and we've recorded about half of them, just under half of them,
Oh,
I would
cool.
say. So we're getting there, and we're looking to have it finished relatively soon. Not sure when we're going to release it yet. There's been a few different dates floating around, but obviously they kept changing because of lockdown and circumstances, and it's been like I said, it was very difficult to get something going. But hopefully, it's going to be this year.
That'd be great to hear some new music from you, man. It really would.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like the single, so
And we're going to have bits and bobs coming out in the meantime anyway. That other songs and stuff that we have written that aren't going to go on album two, but we still want to release. So there'll be some bits in between there as well.
is that just because the album two is a bit of a departure from the previous stuff that you've released, or is it just because you feel like that's a time capsule sort of thing?
Yeah, it kind of is, I suppose. Like we had a lot of stuff for album one, and we've filled our not sound, but we've kind of developed a bit since album one. So the music has taken like a little bit of a different not a different path, but it's slightly more maybe mature, you could say, than album one. So we don't just want to bombard it with stuff that was written years ago. We wanted album two to be like just be about where we are now rather than using old songs. I think there might be one or two songs on there that we wrote a while ago that we didn't make album one, but the majority of album two is going to be what we are now. you know, and then the bits that were left over that didn't make album one, you know, we're just going to stick them out because, you know, don't want to go to waste.
No, fair play, man. Like you
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
if you're writing stuff now, or even the stuff that you wrote a while ago that you know you're reworking, that's more representative of where you guys are.
Yeah, that's true. With the couple tracks that are going on there, we're kind of like the song's there, but we're redoing it, we're reworking it, you know. So
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like I remember seeing an interview with Joe Perry when Aerosmith released their last album for Music from Another Dimension, and they made this thing about how one song went back to 1973 or whatever, and he was like, "Well, it's not really because we've, you know, as he put it, we've kicked the fuck out of it, we've pushed it around, and it's a completely different riff to what I started off with in the first place." So, Same sort of thing, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the other things that you're releasing are the songs that you recorded and wrote previously. Were they already recorded and waited to go, sort of thing, or have you recorded them fresh?
So a few of them we've re-recorded already. There's 3 or 4 more which are they're still recorded, but they were recorded a while ago. So we'll probably re-record them. There's 1 or 2 of those collective things that didn't make album 1 are really old and would definitely need a re-record because they were recorded like 5 years ago or something.
Okay.
You know, but I would say half of them are we've already re-recorded, and there's a few more that we're gonna have to re-record. You know,
That's cool.
which is always cool because it's always interesting to like see like how far maybe you've come as a musician or just as a person when you listen to something you recorded years ago and then something that you record now, like exactly the same, no arrangement changes, but just listening to like the way you sing or the way you play, and the difference is quite substantial. Like I don't think you quite realize how much you kind of grow over them years until you do something like that when you're listening to 2 identical things, but one was recorded that many years ago and one recorded now, and they sound totally different because you've become so much further as a person and a musician, I suppose.
I guess you're right there, man. I guess it's not until you've got that sort of level of comparison that you can see, like you say, that progression you've had.
Yeah. And but sometimes it can be frustrating, I tell you, because you can get in the studio and you can start singing or I don't know, playing or whatever you're doing on the record, and you're like, oh, I can't quite capture what I did back then, or you're so used to hearing it one way that when you do come and record it again, you can't get your head around that it does sound slightly different because you're so used to hearing it a certain way if you've lived with it all those years, that although someone else it might feel better, to you it feels worse because I think it's just a familiarity thing between the old and the new.
It's an artist thing as well, isn't it? I mean, like
I've
been playing in bands off and on since I was sort of 12, 13, and I think it's that thing. Once you've managed to do it once, you will piss yourself off and you will attack yourself until you do get it because you think it should be a certain way, but it's not always the case. I mean,
sometimes you just have to let go of that, don't you?
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah.
So obviously you guys are playing at Winter's End this weekend as well, so I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We're looking forward to that one.
Have you got any other live shows lined up? I thought I saw something about you coming around this way again.
Let me you know what, dude, I'm so bad with dates offhand. What we got? I know we've got another thing after the Winter's End. I think we have Legends of Rock. Another thing down in, I think it's in like Great Yarmouth. I think that's coming up. Where I don't know exactly where that is. I could be completely wrong, but we're also going out on the road with Stray, the band Stray. From years ago. You know, we're good friends with them, so we're going to go out with them on their tour, which is starting in April, I believe.
Cool. Not too far away.
Yeah, not too far away. That's our next big run of shows, and you know, that'll be super fun because they're really cool and they're great musicians, you know, and we've hung out with them a lot, and that'll be kind of like super fun to get on board with. Like that's going to be really cool. But yeah, Stray is the next set of shows. That's what is that? January, February, March, April. Yeah, it's all through April, and I think there's a few dates in May as well.
Oh, nice. So it's a decent stretch then.
Yeah, and I think it starts on the 15th, and you know, but all them dates are on our website and like on our Facebook page and stuff. But that'll be cool. That'll be really fun.
Oh, cool, man. I'll have to see if there's one by this way, and I'll have to come along to that because I like Stray.
Yeah.
Oh, nice one, man. So, excuse me. Oh, I thought I was going to cough there. For anyone who's like me, either just about discovering you guys, just starting to get into you, or interested in you, how did the band form? Where did you guys start kicking off?
So me and guitarist Pete, we've been together in bands we had a band before this band, which was essentially the same band, but Vambo is kind of a development of that band. But we all met through pretty much through music college. I'll be honest with you, years ago. Like me and Pete had another band before this, and when that band kind of fell apart, it didn't fall apart, but members come and go over the years, and it's trying to find that stable, correct lineup. And I'm talking years ago at this point. But when that finished, because we had both been to music college, we hadn't been in years. We thought we would see if there was any musicians at our old music colleges that we could audition to see if they would fit in. And we basically held auditions at ACM, the Academy of Contemporary Music in Guildford.
Oh yeah.
We put like a post out saying, this is what we've done as our old band, and we're reforming the band and seeing if anyone wants to come down. And loads of people turned up.
That's cool.
We auditioned a load of people, and that's how we found our drummer and bass player. But funny enough, we all kind of knew each other anyway, because obviously we all went to that college, and we didn't realize that we knew each other. So it was like, oh, I remember you, kind of thing, like, from college. But it wasn't until years later that we did these auditions at ACM still, and we realized that we kind of all knew each other anyway. So that's how it kind of came about. So yeah,
that's cool, man. It's cool that you already had that sort of background and connection, even if it hadn't come
yeah
from there anyway. That's cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the album, was that recorded? Were you writing and recording from home during lockdown, or was it just a case of waiting until you guys could physically get together? Is that how you best work?
Well, so album 1 obviously was written quite a while ago, before lockdown and stuff. So album 2, like I said before, it was like we tried to do the whole writing via Zoom, I don't know, via video calling, and it just didn't kind of feel right and work out. So we got some ideas floating around, but we didn't set anything in stone, obviously, because it just trying to, like, I don't know, if you go to someone like, oh, can you play this part, and then you're trying to like type how you're feeling it should sound, you can't, and just to make that, like, a slight change can be so such a long process when you're doing it over like the internet. Something you could do in a studio together in 2 minutes, a change could take you 4 hours trying to explain it over like a Zoom call or something, you know what I mean? So we tried, we kind of failed, but we got some nice ideas out of it. But we do prefer to be writing together, like, even if it's just like me and Pete, the guitarist, start with an idea, and we'll write kind of a riff, and I don't know, like a hook, or some melody or lyrics, and then we'll get everyone together in the rehearsal studio and just see what it kind of becomes. Like, that's the ideal way of doing it, and that's how we pretty much did album 1. But yeah, much prefer just being together. It just is a bit more real, I suppose. Not real, but it feels nicer, and easier.
You get the vibe off better. You can't beat being in someone writing off hard and trading riffs and getting that energy and that excitement, like you say. I've not tried to write anything over Zoom or anything, to be honest. Anything I've ever written in any bands I've ever been has always been in a room. But I can imagine, like you say, something that would take you quite a short space of time when you're in there interacting with each other physically.
Yeah.
I can imagine that being a complete pain in the ass, because sometimes you struggle, even if you're like, because like you say, it could just be an accent on a drum hit, or just the strings or anything.
Yeah, it really is, because especially if you just want to see how it sounds, right? If you just want to see how it sounds, it's like when you're in a rehearsal studio, you could just play it all together, and you can hear how it sounds. But if you want to hear how it sounds, especially if it's drums, like Steve will have to like re-record the entire part, bounce it down, send it, just to change one little thing to hear how it would sound, like, whereas if you're in a rehearsal studio, you just go, oh, quickly play that for us, mate, and he'll quickly play it for you, like, and we'll play it together. And you can't really do that over the internet. Like, I'm sure some people can, but We can't. we can barely write in a room together, you know.
I'm sure some people have managed it. I'm sure some people have done exactly that during lockdown. But at the end of the day, it's whatever works for you guys, isn't it? I mean, you guys work and everything else.
Yeah.
So is it you and Pete who do the majority of the writing then, or is it more of a jamming session and everyone adding their bits of the soup, so to speak?
So album one was more so like that. We wrote it, but after we had the idea, we went to the band and we arranged it. You know, we turned it into a song. So the idea was born maybe from me and Pete, but like the song was created by us. You know, but this one, the album two, we're very much all being more directly involved in writing, as not just the arrangement and the aftermath of the idea and writing session. Like, so we're all kind of everyone's getting stuck in on this one, which is really cool.
That's good,
which
man.
is nice because it like brings more ideas to the table. Sometimes it can be harder when there's more ideas. Sometimes it can be easier, you know what I mean? But it's definitely more fun.
Do you guys all have sort of, I mean, obviously you've all got a common musical connection, otherwise you wouldn't be jamming together, but depending on who's adding their bit to the soup, does it add a different vibe sort of thing? Or
Yeah, definitely. I would say so. But it's kind of odd because it's still, although we actually do all have quite different musical tastes, but whenever we're writing, it always seems to somehow come under the same kind of umbrella. I don't know, it always seems to just work. Sometimes not every song does work, but it's never like someone never comes to the table with like a jazz piece or something, you know what I mean? Like, but it always seems to fall under rock because we all like rock, whether it be hard rock, soft rock, pop rock, heavy rock, you know, doom metal, I don't know, metal. It's all rock, you know. So we all like. So when we do write, I think we all kind of collectively know how we want us to sound. No matter where our influences come from, we know how in our heads how Vambo sounds. So whenever when the ideas are coming in, it just seems to work, you know. But it's also nice because sometimes when you do have that diversity in songwriting, it means that every song is different, which makes the album more. For me, I don't like to listen to an album that is all sounds the same, all the same type of song. I mean, I know lots of people do. I might actually be one of the minority that likes it, but some people like to listen to an album and go, "Oh, I like the sound of album two, but I prefer the sound of the sound of album two or the sound of album three." I just like to listen to an album where every song is different, so I'm not bored. I don't feel like I'm listening to the same song over and over again, like with just different words and a different riff. It's nice to have different variations, different styles, different dynamic within each song. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of a plus when you have a lot of people kind of putting input in, that the songs can become a little bit, they can be different, which is nice. Like, and that's just me personally. I prefer to listen to an album like that, and that's what we tried to do with album number one, where although at heart it's a rock album with early 70s influences. We try, we feel that when I listen to it, I go, I can tell, like, this is a song from when we were inspired by this band, or this song's a bit more modern and sounds a bit more, I don't know, music or something like that, or this song's a bit more deep purpley, or that one's a little bit more funky. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's cool to have that for me in an album, and I think that's what we always try and do, especially with album two. There's quite a few. I mean, we've got like Eastern vibes going on in this second album on one song, and then another song's quite funky, and then we've got another song which we've just written actually, which is, I don't even know if it's a rock song, if I'm being honest with you. Do you know what I mean? Like, this second album is quite cool. It's quite every track is quite different. Obviously there's going to be a couple of like good rock rock tracks on it, because that's what we love to do, but it's fun and more interesting when you can just try, and even though it is a rock album, it 100% is a rock album, because that's the way we'll mix and master it in the end, and it always has the guitar thing. But to us, when we're writing, like, we actually we say to each other, should we write like a funky track, or let's write a bit more of a poppy track, or but the overall outcome will still sound like a rock song, but the way we approach it with the writing is different, and it keeps it fun. You know what I mean? When we're writing, it stops it from being boring.
Well, this is it. I mean, I think just talking from my personal taste and everything else, I think all my favorite bands have done exactly what you've just said. I mean, for me, an album is always a piece of art. and like any good piece of art, it's got light and shade, and you're going to have
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
heavy, you're going to have stuff, and I love it when I'll go see, I don't know, say I'll go see Rival Sons or someone like that, and they're going off and riffing it away with like um Close My Eyes or something like that. And then I loved it when I saw them in Norwich and they did like a 4-song little mini set with just bluesgrass in the middle of it. It was brilliant.
yeah, yeah,
I think it's important to, like you say, even like some of the heavier bands are like, they've got slower songs and
yeah,
more
yeah, yeah,
and without the light, the heavy seems just dull.
yeah, yeah.
It's important to have the light and shade, I think, personally, just from my own personal taste. I think all my favorite albums have got that. So, and it was certainly something that when I was watching you guys in Norwich first time I saw you, what I really liked about you guys, at 1 minute it was going down a sort of very I hate to use the term, but very more classic rock kind of sound.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were throwing stuff in that had elements of that still, but had really cool kind of synth lines going on in the background and everything, which was really nice. And I just think that's just important. I think I think all my favorite bands and bands I've really enjoyed have that, because you can listen to a whole album and you can't really pinpoint what their sound is, if you know what I mean, but it's that band.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when we released the first album, and like we had like a plethora of really great reviews, like nearly all of them, I'd say 99% of them were good, which was nice. But I remember there was just one review that was, I mean, you would call it a bad review, but for us it was a bad review for all the right reasons, because the guy that reviewed it, I can't remember who it was, but he said this doesn't sound like a collective album where all the songs are under the same umbrella and flow together nicely. It sounds like 10 singles from 10 different albums thrown onto a track and called an album. And it was like, that is exactly what we were trying to do. So it was kind of like, he didn't like it for those reasons, but it picked up on the exact thing that we was trying to do, so even though I didn't like it, it was kind of a compliment in the same thing, because everyone's entitled to what they like and what they don't like. But it was nice that someone actually thought of it like that, even though they were seeing it in a negative light. For us, it was actually a positive thing, because that's exactly, we wanted every song to be, it could be a single, and it could be from any album that we have done. That's because that's what we were going back to what we were saying earlier. It's like the album I mean, it sounds really cliche saying it, I hate it, but maybe it takes people on a bit more of a different journey when the songs are a little bit different, and we like to do that, which is cool.
I think it does. I mean, one of the other things I thought about you guys live was like, you're one of those bands, and please take this the right way, because it is meant as a compliment, that for me, I was thinking the same as Rival Sons and bands I absolutely adore. It doesn't matter how many people would be in that audience. If you were paying to like, I don't know, Download Festival, 60,000 people, or 4 people in a pub, you would have performed those songs how you were going to perform them. And and that energy transfers, man, because when I go see Rival Sons, Jay Buchanan, he's not the peacock, he's not a Steven Tyler, he's doing it for himself, and you can tell the soul and everything else coming through it. And equally, I've just said I'm a huge Aerosmith fan, so there's no disrespect to anybody who is a bit of a peacock frontman. But what I liked about
Steven Tyler's my favorite frontman of all time.
Oh man, but I just felt like you were, I don't know, I mean, don't get wrong, your mic stand tricks and everything working the mic, I said to my missus that he likes Steven Tyler.
I do. I love him. Like, he's amazing.
Oh, you can't not, man. Jesus Christ. That was. I mean, going off topic, that was the first gig I ever went to. My dad took me to see Aerosmith when I was 11, and that was me.
Well, that's the reason why we have this band, is because I wasn't ever thinking about making a band, and I went and saw Aerosmith at O2, I think in 2010.
I was there, yeah.
Yeah, and that was the day that I came home and went, I'm starting a band.
Nice.
Like, because of that gig. Like, it was purely because of that gig that I'm even doing music, because I didn't even sing before then. I started singing and I'd never written a song, and I'd never sung before I started. My musical journey started back in 2011, so it's been a while now. But I hadn't, because my family are all musicians. My dad was a successful musician through his life, but they never saw me going into the music industry. And I thought, after seeing the band, after seeing Aerosmith, it just kind of changed everything for me, really.
So did your dad take you along to Aerosmith? Were you a fan of them before?
No, my mum so my dad was in a glam band in the 70s called Mud. And he's now a band called the Hollies. So his musical tastes were very different to what I liked at that point. My mum and dad are, and my mum's a great singer. Like, my mum and dad are very much into like funk and soul
Oh, cool.
and like disco and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, and one of my dad's, this band isn't actually anything like what I just said to any of them genres, but my dad's favorite band is Steely Dan. So that he's not really a rock head. I kind of got him into rock because when I said, and my dad produces our albums, like he's our producer and he has been for the first album and will be for the second album.
Oh, that's cool.
So I said to him, I'm going to be in a band, and he was like, no, you're not. And I was like, yes, I am. It's like, no, you're not. It's too risky. And I was like, you know, and I wrote some songs, and he was like, nah, it's not going to happen. And now he's our biggest fan, and you know, and it's he's been working with us for years and stuff. So it's really cool.
That's great that you got that connection, man. That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah. It's hard sometimes because when like we all see him as well in the band, like we can easily have that argument because the connection of familiarity. So it can also cause more tension because you're not afraid of saying things because he's your dad. Do you know what I mean? So like you can say to fuck off where you might not necessarily tell like, sorry, I don't know if I can say that, but you might not necessarily tell like a producer that you've just started working with to fuck off. You know what I mean? It's different. Like, so it can cause some unnecessary arguments because you're more comfortable in a sense, but it's fun. But we always make sure that he's our producer. He does our live sound as well, actually.
All right, cool.
That's about as far as it goes. You know, we try and keep like what the band does and then that separate as much as we can just so it flows better. But it's great working with him, you know.
That's great, man. I didn't realize that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's good that he does the live sound as well. The sound is important live. That's what there's, you know, especially on the rising side of bands. There's so many bands I've seen live that they've either been, I mean, I know people will say it doesn't happen, but it does. They've either been shafted by the headliner on their sound.
Mm-hmm.
And bands I know that I've seen in other gigs and they've been great. And then I've gone, oh, they're playing supporting so-and-so or over there. And then they've just been fucked.
Yeah, it's difficult. And that's why because obviously he produced the record and all the songs, he knows exactly what it's meant to sound like, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it does cause some conflict, especially when you're on tour with other bands. And they expect maybe the house engineer to just mix a support band and then the main band brings their sound guy in.
Yeah.
But when we go up and say, look, don't mean to step on anyone's toes, but obviously our mix isn't a static mix. We have, you know, things that happen and it can't just be a faders up job. It needs to be mixed. And we have a guy that would come and be my dad, like, well, he'll be doing it. And sometimes the sound guy can be a bit like, what do you mean? I'll be like, well, you know, we need it because, you know, and that's like you were saying, I feel bad sometimes where you can see a drastic difference between the support band sound and the main band sound. And it's not the support band's fault that the sound guy doesn't really care about the support band. I'm not saying every sound guy's like that at all, but it happens. It really does happen. Like, and I've seen it because we've been through it. You know, we've been through it where the sound guy has literally just faded up and walked off and left the desk. You know, and you know, or haven't given us even listened to us during sound check. So how do you know what it's going to be like? You know, it's just so it's important to have that, and it really does make
a huge impact. I mean, a couple months back, I want to go see a mate of mine band play, and they were supporting someone. I won't mention who it was because it's unfair to, but they were supporting someone, and we went down to the gig, and obviously it's my mate's band, so I've seen them live several times. I know they got the goods, and I was sitting there watching them, and while my mate was singing, I was going, "You can barely hear her. Like, what's going on?" Like, and she's a real powerhouse singer, my friend.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to her and go, it was all muddy, it was all horrible, the sound was all completely off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, and I looked towards the sound desk, and there's like no guy there at all. He just and I was like, right, okay. And I put my own festival on as well. So one thing I've always sort of pride myself with my Just Push Play festival is that every band is going to get the best sound I can possibly give them, you know.
Yeah.
And Fleece, who does the sound for me down at Just Push Play, is an absolute diamond. He's an absolute brilliant bloke and a top-notch guy, and he's great. So when I see a band on the like supporting or whatever getting crappy sound, it kind of annoys me. And this guy just walked off, and I thought, Jesus Christ! And then the headliner band came on, and the sound guy came back, and then for like literally like the first 5 seconds of the headline band playing, it was the same, and then you could literally hear him just adjust everything, and then it was perfect.
Yeah, like, and it's disrespectful really to the support bands. It is, because, you know, arguably they need it more than the headline band, because the headline band's headlining, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, they're obviously there for, they obviously have some form of success, whereas the support band, you know,
They've
because
got
it can
volume.
make a world of a difference when someone is, like you say, like your friend has a powerhouse voice, but if the volume's down, no one's going to know that. You know what I mean? You know, no one's going to, if you don't get that clarity out, no one's going to know that. And it's, you know, it's sad, but it happens. But let's just say that's one of the benefits of my dad coming along and doing the sound, like, and, you know, he's a great sound engineer, and he, you know, so it's nice, and like I said, it is upsetting to see it happen when you're watching other bands. You're like, they deserve more than that, you know.
Like you say, man, I've been at festivals, and I remember my wife, she was more into the sort of progressive side of things, and we were watching one band at Rambling Man Fair Festival, I think it was, and I sort of walked away going, that just sounded rubbish, like it wasn't for me at all. And then we went to go see a band she likes, Opeth, and this band, other band, Ulcers, was supporting. And in my head, I'm going, I'm not going to enjoy this support set because they were rubbish.
Yeah.
Rambling Man Fair, and the sound was set up for them properly when they supported Opeth, and they were fucking brilliant. And I was stood there like, hang on, this isn't the same band, but it was just the sound was shit for them, you know.
It does make such a big impact. And like, you know, I don't mean to like dick on sound men, but it, like I say, it does happen, doesn't it? You know, and especially like sometimes when you're playing like the smaller venues and stuff, when there seems to be like, especially when it's like younger kids, they seem to have like a bit of an ego about, because obviously maybe they've just learned it all in college and they think they know everything about the soundboard and they know exactly what they're doing, but really they don't get a great sound. And then, for example, like when we went and played like Download Festival, Isle of Wight Festival, it was like these guys were obviously way more experienced and older, but they didn't have the ego, and it was much easier. But and the sound was great as well, you know. So it was like, you seem to get like small venue sound engineer ego sometimes. And like I said, I don't mean to insult anyone, because obviously it's not everyone, but it does happen, and it happened. My dad has helped us a lot with that. So
no, it's good that he's got you backing on that, man. Like you say, like, and I agree with you. It's not everyone. I know some decent sound engineers working in smaller venues.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I know a lot of good guys. There's like you're saying, it's not everyone, but it does happen. And that point's still valid. So other than what we spoke about, man, what's the rest of the year hold for you boys?
So we've got the strafing coming up. We are hoping to do so when we release the album, which hopefully is going to be this year, we're gonna do a few dates off the back of that. We're not gonna do like I don't think we're gonna do like a big UK tour or anything like that. I don't think we're quite there yet, you know, but we're gonna, with album 2, we're gonna do a few select shows for the album, you know, try and sell them out and get people down. So that'll be in like hopefully the later half of the year. Cool. We've got another set of dates coming up in May and June, I believe, but we haven't actually confirmed them and put out the dates yet, but there should be something to look out around that time.
Oh, nice.
So we've got a few, we have a few gigs coming up, definitely. So, but the Stray thing is the most, apart from Winter's End that's coming up on the weekend. We got the Stray thing, and then the next thing that's confirmed will be the album dates. But if everyone wants to look out, because I'm pretty sure there'll be some shows before that as well. But we're taking this time at the moment just to finish that second album, to finally get it done, you know. So
good, man. Nice one. All right, dude. Well, thanks for your time, Jack, man. Just one more thing before I let you go, buddy. At the beginning of the show, we're going to play "We're Not the Same" because it's probably my favorite song off the album.
Nice.
But what song of yours would you like to play at the end of the interview?
Ooh, let's go with. Let me get up a list of it. Actually, it's been I need to have a little look. I've got my Spotify right next to me. Yeah, not the same. Not the same as one of my favorite. I would have said not the same. Like one of my favorites on there. Let's go with.
It was. I'll be honest. "We're Not the Same" was the song when you played it live when I saw you at Catching Space. That was the one that stayed with me all the way to the car, sort of thing. You know.
Yeah, well, that's going back to saying, like, if you actually listen to that, when you listen to that track, it doesn't sound so much like a classic rock track, right? It's a rock track, but it's quite a unique track. I think that's why I quite like it, with all like the vocal layers, and it's a bit weird here and there.
I love the vocal effects that you've got running through them. They're kind of more, like you say, it's not an orthodox rock vocal, but it sounds great.
Yeah, like I think that has like, I think it's like 18 vocal tracks in it or something, you know, because we did like we like double or triple tracked every vocal, and then like all the harmonies that were on top and the octaves were all triple track to try and get this weird, big kind of phasey kind of
Oh, nice.
sound with it, which took a long time, but I think it kind of worked.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Let's do. I'm gonna do now. Let's do Cry Woman.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, Cry Woman. Let's do that.
All right, cheers for your time, Jack, man. It's been good talking to you, dude.
Yeah, man, and I'll see you at Winter's End, I presume.
Yeah, I'll be there, man. If you're about afterwards, let's have a beer or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Come and say hello and we'll grab a drink. Thank you so much for having me, mate. It was a pleasure.
No, pleasure's mine, dude, and I'll see you at the weekend, buddy.
Peace, mate. Take it easy.
You too, man.